Okay, let's just try to picture this. I want you to imagine a place that is, I mean, it's basically synonymous with oil.
It's a definition of it.
Right. A country sitting on almost 20% of the world's entire petroleum reserves. For the better part of a century, it's been the engine room of the internal combustion age.
The ultimate energy incumbent, you could say.
Exactly. So now, imagine that same country decides to do a hard pivot. And not just, buying some EVs to look green. No. They decide to build a national car brand from scratch, right there in the desert, with the goal of beating Detroit, Germany, and China at their own game.
It sounds like a total paradox, doesn't it? It's like a cattle rancher deciding to launch a vegan meat company. But that's exactly what we're looking at today.
Today, we are doing a deep dive into Ceer. And just so you know, it's spelled C-E-E-R, but it's pronounced Ceer. And this isn't some side project. This is Saudi Arabia's very first national automotive brand.
A huge deal.
And our mission for this deep dive is really specific. We're not just looking at the car itself. We want to figure out how a country with basically zero history in mass car manufacturing plans to catch up to 100 years of automotive history in, 4 years?
That speed. That's the whole story right there. And to get our heads around it, we've pulled together a massive stack of sources. We've got business reports from Business Chief, we have technical updates from Moving On, and we've dug into the joint venture filings and the big strategic plan, Vision 2030.
And just to ground us all, we have to remember the date. Today is January 27, 2026.
And that date is so critical here, because while we're talking about it today, with production lines actually moving and cars, existing, this whole thing was only announced back in late 2022.
Which in the car world is, 5 minutes ago?
It really is. I mean, a legacy automaker, a Toyota or a Ford, they budget 5 to 7 years just to develop a new platform. And that's assuming they already have the factories, the engineers, all of it. Ceer has built an entire company, a supply chain, a factory, and a whole lineup of vehicles in less time than it takes most brands to do a simple facelift on an existing model.
That speed is actually where I want to start, because I was looking at the timeline, and I honestly did a double take. The Crown Prince, Mohammed bin Salman, announces the brand in 2022, and within 3 weeks...
3 weeks! It's unreal.
21 days. They had plans rolled out, huge deals signed, and a CEO appointed.
Blistering speed.
But let's be real. When things move that fast in the corporate world, it usually means one of two things. Either corners are being cut, or it's just a slide deck startup that never actually builds anything.
Yeah.
So how do they go from a press release to a physical car so quickly?
That is the billion-dollar question, isn't it? And the answer, it really lies in their philosophy. See, the traditional way, let's call it the Tesla path, you spend years and years in R&D. You try to invent everything yourself, your own batteries, your own motors, your own software. It's heroic, but man, is it slow.
And unbelievably expensive.
Right. Ceer just didn't do that. They knew they were starting the race 50 years late, so they couldn't afford to run the first lap. They went with the best-of-breed strategy. Or, to put it another way, they basically assembled the Avengers of car technology.
Okay, I like the Avengers analogy, but I have to play devil's advocate. Because when you say assembling a team, all I can picture is a car designed by committee.
Which is usually a disaster.
Exactly. It sounds like a Frankenstein's monster. You take a part from here, a part from there, you stitch it all together and just hope it doesn't fall apart on the highway.
Yeah.
So who is on this team and why isn't it a total mess?
And that is the risk, absolutely. Integration risk is what kills projects like this. But let's look at who they chose, because the choices are so specific. Let's start with the brains of the whole thing. The main joint venture. It isn't with another car company. It's with Foxconn.
Foxconn. The iPhone people.
The very same. And that, right there, is a massive signal about how they see the car. They don't see a mechanical object. They see a consumer electronics device.
Okay, but Foxconn makes phones. I mean, can they make a car safe?
Well, see, they aren't welding the steel. Foxconn is developing what's called the electrical electronic architecture, the EE architecture. And this is so important. In the EV world today, what's the biggest complaint you hear? It's not that the cars are slow.
Oh, no, it's that the interface is terrible.
Yeah,
Laggy touchscreens, menus that make zero sense, software that feels 10 years old.
Exactly. Because you have mechanical engineers trying to become software developers overnight. Ceer flipped that. They brought in Foxconn, the company that builds the nervous system for the iPhone, to handle all the data flow. They're building a system where the infotainment, the self-driving sensors, the battery, it all talks to each other natively.
So it's the difference between a car that has a computer plugged into it
Yeah.
and a car that is a computer.
That's a perfect way to put it. It's a software-defined vehicle from day one. They're not patching together code from 20 different suppliers.
Okay, so you've got the brain of a tech giant, but you can't drive a smartphone. You still need chassis, suspension, steering, the stuff that actually keeps you on the road.
You need the bones. And this is where they solved that safety question you had. They went to the masters of mechanical engineering, BMW.
Wait, really? BMW's building them?
Not building them, no. And this is a really crucial distinction. Ceer licensed component technology from BMW.
Walk me through why that's different. Why license instead of partner?
Well, if you partner, you're stuck with the other company's bureaucracy. Every time you want to change a bolt, you've got to schedule a meeting in Munich. If you license, you're just buying the intellectual property. You get the blueprints for the chassis, the suspension, the safety cage, all this tech that's been refined over decades, but you have the freedom to build on top of it however you want.
So it's like
Ugh.
you get the skeleton of a German luxury car, but you can put whatever muscle and skin you want on it.
That's it exactly. You totally de-risk the structural integrity. You know the car will handle well because it's built on BMW DNA, but you don't have to ask BMW's permission to do a software update.
That is, wow. That's actually a terrifyingly smart combination. German bones, Taiwanese brain. But what about the heart? The motor?
And that's where the muscle comes in. They partnered with Hyundai Transies for the electric propulsion systems. And Hyundai has just been crushing it with their EV efficiency lately, some of the best numbers in the world. But here's where it gets really interesting. The sources also mention a partnership with Rimac for the high-performance versions.
Rimac, the Croatian company.
Yeah.
The ones who make those insane hypercars that break all the speed records.
The very same. So if you step back and look at the whole picture, you've got German engineering for stability, Korean propulsion for efficiency, Taiwanese electronics for the interface, and Croatian supercar tech for sheer performance.
All being assembled in the Saudi desert. It's a global puzzle.
It is. And it solves the single biggest problem for any new car company: credibility. By bringing in these specific partners, Ceer just skipped the whole can they even build a car phase. Nobody doubts BMW. Nobody doubts Foxconn. The only question left is, can they put it all together?
Which brings us to the actual thing itself, because we know what's inside it now, but we have to talk about what it looks like. I was reading the design reports, and subtle is not a word I would use.
Subtle was definitely not on the design brief, no.
Some of the Italian auto press called it spigoloso, which means edgy or sharp. And I've seen people calling it the Cybertruck of Arabia.
And that gives you a pretty good mental image, right? It's not trying to be one of those soft, rounded, bubble-shaped EVs. It is angular. It's aggressive.
And the windshield. The reports say it might be the biggest windshield in the world. It goes all the way up and covers a huge part of the roof.
And that's a very deliberate choice. Think about the environment. You want that feeling of openness, of space.
But hang on. We're talking about Saudi Arabia. It gets to, what, 110 degrees in the shade? A giant glass roof? Sounds like you're just turning the passengers into baked potatoes.
It does sound counterintuitive, but this is where that tech-first approach comes back. The glass isn't just glass. It's electrochromic. It can tint itself electronically to block the heat but still let in the light.
It's a flex.
It's a total flex. They're showing they can master the environment with technology.
And the doors. We haven't mentioned the doors. Gull-wing doors.
Of course.
Why, though? Is that just showing off? Because everyone knows gull-wing doors are a nightmare in a parking lot.
Well, yeah, part of it is definitely showing off. But you have to think about the market. Who's buying this? They're targeting the GCC region.
So Riyadh, Dubai, Doha.
Exactly. And that's a market that loves supercars, luxury sedans, and extreme off-roaders like the G-Wagon. If Ceer had launched some sensible, boring family car, it would have been totally invisible. They had to be different. They had to be polarizing to even get noticed.
So the Cybertruck comparison isn't just about the sharp angles. It's about making a huge statement.
Precisely. It signals this is a premium luxury product. This is a status symbol.
So, okay, you've got this insanely complex global supply chain, the Avengers team. You've got this spaceship design, and you have a deadline that's just impossible.
A total pressure cooker.
Who do you hire to run that? It can't be Silicon Valley tech bro. They don't know how to build factories. And it can't be a traditional suit from Detroit because they just move too slowly.
You need a hybrid, someone who gets the old world of manufacturing at scale, but has also survived the new world of startup speed. And that's why hiring James DeLuca is so fascinating to me.
So for anyone who doesn't follow the automotive C-suite, who is James DeLuca?
He is a true manufacturing heavyweight. He spent 37 years at General Motors. And not in some corner office, he was in charge of manufacturing worldwide. We're talking about a guy who managed 200,000 employees, 171 plants in 31 countries.
That's a lot of experience. And I have to be the skeptic here. A lot of GM guys go to startups and fail. They're used to huge teams and endless budgets. They can't handle the chaos.
That's true. But DeLuca has this one very, very specific line on his resume that makes him perfect for Ceer. Before this, he was the CEO of VinFast.
The Vietnamese EV company.
Yes. And think about what VinFast did. I mean, love them or hate them, they did something impossible. They were Vietnam's first national car brand. They built a massive factory on a swamp in 21 months and got cars to the U.S. market insanely fast.
So he's literally done this exact thing before, built a national car brand from scratch in a country that didn't have one.
He's the specialist you call when you want to build an auto industry like tomorrow. He knows where all the traps are. And his vision for Ceer, it isn't just about making a few cars. He talks about igniting the whole sector. He sees Ceer as the anchor for an entirely new industry in Saudi Arabia.
Which brings us to the factory, because they aren't building this in Detroit or Munich. They're building it in King Abdullah Economic City, KAEC.
Right on the Red Sea coast, surrounded by desert.
So you get extreme heat, sand, dust, all natural enemies of making high-precision electronics.
It is a massive challenge. And yet the sources all keep mentioning this zero waste to landfill certification, which, usually that's just corporate PR fluff. But in a desert, the real story is water management.
That's so?
A normal car factory uses millions and millions of gallons of water, mostly for the paint shop and for cooling. You just don't have that luxury in KAEs.
So for them to claim zero waste, they must be recycling nearly every single drop of water that comes into that plant.
It suggests a level of closed-loop engineering you usually only see in the most advanced German plants. It's difficult, it's expensive, but it's also necessary. You can't really sell a green car that's made in a dirty factory anymore. People see right through that.
And speaking of people seeing things, let's zoom out. Why is the Saudi government pouring billions into this? We hear about Vision 2030, but what's the actual economic logic?
It boils down to a concept called economic leakage.
Okay, what's that?
So, back in 2020, Saudi Arabia spent over $10 billion importing cars. They're the biggest importer in the whole Middle East, so every time someone there buys a Toyota or a Mercedes, that $10 billion leaves the country. It goes to Japan or Germany. It leaks out of the economy.
So the goal isn't just to make money selling cars, it's to stop losing money buying them.
Correct. Ceer is about capturing that spending. Instead of sending billions abroad, you keep that money inside your own economy. And the projections are huge. They think Ceer will add something like $8 billion to the Saudi GDP by 2034.
And create jobs.
Up to 30,000 jobs. And this, I think, is the most important part of the Vision 2030 story. These aren't just assembly line jobs. They have partnerships with their top university, KOST, and with Siemens to train locals, including women and young people, to be engineers and software developers.
That's a massive cultural shift. You're trying to turn a resource extraction economy into a high-tech manufacturing one.
That's it. It's a signal to the world that Saudi Arabia wants to be a place where things are made, not just a place where things are found in the ground.
So let's bring it back to today, January 2026. Where are we?
Wow, the latest updates say production is in an advanced phase. Those prototypes are now real machines, with the Hyundai motors and the German engineering all integrated. The factory is up and running.
It sounds like it's all going perfectly, but there have to be hurdles, right?
Yeah.
That speed we mentioned usually breaks things.
Oh, absolutely. The biggest challenge they have right now is scale. They are deep in the production hell phase.
We hear that term a lot, mostly because of Elon Musk. But can you explain what that actually means? It's not just working late, is it?
No, it's the jump from hand-building 10 perfect cars to building 50 cars an hour with robots. If a single part is 1 millimeter off, the robot jams, a whole line stops, and you're losing $1 million an hour.
And Ceer is trying to do that on their very first try.
Exactly. They're skipping the slow learning curve and jumping straight to mass production. It is the definition of high risk.
And the customer has to be a challenge, too.
That's the other side of the coin. You're trying to sell electric cars in a country where gasoline has for most of its history, been cheaper than bottled water.
That is a really good point. It's one thing to build the car, it's another to convince people to plug it in when the gas pump is so easy and so cheap.
Getting the local population to switch from a V8 Land Cruiser to an electric Ceer, that's going to take a huge cultural shift.
Which is why that premium positioning is so clever. If it's just a boring green car, nobody cares. But if it's a cool, high-tech gull-wing door status symbol that happens to be electric, that might just work.
Exactly. It has to be desirable first and electric second.
Okay, let's start to wrap this up. We've covered the Avenger strategy, using Foxconn, BMW, and Rimac to just leapfrog the development cycle. We've looked at the Cybertruck-esque design built for the desert. We've talked about James DeLuca, the manufacturing veteran running the whole show. And we've looked at the massive economic gamble behind it all.
It really is an amazing case study. It just challenges all our ideas about how you build an industry in the 21st century. Can you just buy your way in if your pockets are deep enough and your strategy is smart enough?
It's going to be fascinating to watch. And before we sign off, I just want to take a second and talk directly to you, the listener. We know there are a million things fighting for your attention every day. The fact that you chose to spend this time with us, digging into the details of the Saudi auto industry, we really genuinely appreciate that.
We really do. Staying curious about how the world is changing, even in places or industries you might not think about every day, that's what keeps things interesting. So thank you. Thank you for letting us be a part of your day.
Absolutely. We couldn't do this without you. Now, I think you had one final thought you wanted to leave us with.
I do. It's something that just kept hitting me while I was reading all this. For the last 80 years, when we thought about Saudi Arabia and transportation, we thought about one thing, the fuel. They exported the energy that moved the world.
The oil.
But if Ceer succeeds, if this factory really works and these cars start rolling onto ships, we could be witnessing this fundamental pivot. We might be seeing the moment where they stop just exporting the fuel and they start exporting the machine that uses it.
Now that is something to think about. Thanks for listening, everyone.
Take care.